everybody, it's Romania Black, and we're on episode 11 of the case study of Vanitas. And you know, at this point in the series, this technically started out, from what I've been told, as 2 cores. So we're on the penultimate episode of core 1. Why not? And the last episode was crazy because we found out about Dr. Moreau. We found out a bit about Vanitas, just enough to whet our appetite and get us really, really excited. And then we also learned that Rayvern is not to be trusted. He's working with Charlatan, and he's not a good guy. So we're like, of course he's not. So there's all of that going forward, and I just couldn't wait. I'm like, I have to know. The good thing about all of this, though, is that Roland, by the end of it, Roland seems that he will be an ally. So we thank to Noe and Vanitas that he's willing to help them, which is good, because Roland seems like the type of character you want as your friend more than your foe. And I really liked the different moments that we got between Noe and Vanitas in the last episode, as Noe is trying to understand Vanitas more, and Vanitas is just, there's a lot going on with Vanitas that we don't even know about, but we know that there is potentially a little brother, a figurative little brother, that was taken in by the Blue Moon Vampire as well. Could be dead, could still be with the Blue Moon Vampire. There's more under the surface going on than we know, and it's just all crazy, right? So I'm pretty excited. I had to wear blue. I had to watch Case Study of Vanitas, so I'm really excited to see if we're treating this as the penultimate episode before the end of a core. Then, I mean, the thing of it is, they know it was going to be a full season of 24 episodes, so even if it was split into cores, you know that this episode and the next episode is going to end an arc, and then we're going to be setting up to start the next arc that's going to lead us into the rest of the season. So that's really, really exciting. The anime that I've watched so far that have done it all pretty well. So hopefully my dogs will not be crazy as I watch this. But yeah, I'm really excited, y'all. But before we get started, obviously, I want to send a shout out over to Patreon as I hook up my headphones here to thank Patreon, because thanks to y'all for helping support me. You help me to pay for my subscription on Streamable, as well as Vidyard, as well as paying for the anime, the manga, the streaming services, everything that is entailed with it. You guys help me to pay for that so I can react to these series and talk with you all about them. And also, you guys are just great supports and support me in doing the thing that I love, which is watching anime, manga, and Danmai and Donghua and talking with you all about it. So I really appreciate it. But those of you who give extra support each month in the philanthropy tier, you all get a shout out. So I want to give a special shout out to Edgar, to Dana, to Tyrone, to Anime Annie, to Alex Cornejo, to Be Happy, to Eric, to Shimoyama, to Kuba Lutek, to Kiri, Librarian of Lang, Lou Genesis, as well as Sunspots, Truck, and Translucent Men. You guys are amazing. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much for all of your support and all of my love, obviously. So, yes, I'm excited to see what's going to be happening in this episode. I don't know what we're going to get, but I'm really excited regardless, right? I mean, we just found out Rayvern is not to be trusted, and the thing is, our boys don't know that, so they're probably going to talk to him, but, and there's stuff with Noe we don't know. There's just a lot, y'all. There's a lot, and I'm really excited, so I hope you all are too, but let's not waste any more time. We are going to start episode 11 of the Case Study of Vanitas, and we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's do this, y'all. I'm not sure if it's a mistake or not to not bring out Whiteboard Coon, but I don't see the need to bring it out yet. But this episode, oh my gosh, I really like this series, y'all. I really like this series because it's very clever in knowing exactly what it's doing, and it's setting all this stuff up with the characters, and this episode was so clever in a lot of ways, but it sets up so much mystery too, and then we don't find out what happened to Noe. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to wait. I want to find out what happened to Noe. Like Rayvern attacked him and drew blood and sucked his blood. Like, is he gonna end up being a curse bearer like her, like Jeanne. But here's the thing, I don't know if Jeanne's a curse bearer or not. What is happening? It's so frustrating. But we had two big fronts on this, right? It's basically Noe and Jeanne had two tests that they were trying to pass. Noe's test was to pass with Rayvern, and Jeanne's test was to pass and get Vanitas to get away from her. They both failed miserably, and it's just like, oh my god. But yeah, we need to talk about this episode. Oh my gosh, what is happening? So I honestly, it's like, I feel bad for both Vanitas and I feel bad for Jeanne, because I like both of their characters a lot. Like, Vanitas is a little gremlin, he's a little troll, but there's something very endearing about him that I'm like, all right, Vanitas, I like you. My thing is with Vanitas, we've seen enough of him so far that I know what his deal is. I know that he puts on this big front and that under the surface he has a lot going on. And he's trying to, put on this fake skin of being like, oh yes, I'm flirty, I'm trolling you, I'm flirtatious and blah, blah, blah. But underneath, Noe's kind of figured out, oddly enough, Noe's figured out that there's a loneliness there, that he's actually, kind of isolated himself from everybody else. And on top of that, I do think that Vanitas does show some moments, like at the very end with Jeanne, where he's like, he does feel, he does have compassion in his own little gremlin way. But I think that Noe kind of hits it on the head. He's lonely, he's isolated, he doesn't want to reveal all of his cards because it's very private and personal to him, and you can't blame Vanitas for being like that. And then you have Jeanne, who just wants him to leave her alone. But Jeanne seems very much like the type of character that falls in love rather easily. Like, I feel like Jeanne could fall in love with Dami just as easily as she could fall in love with Vanitas. And I'm officially rooting for the Dami-Jeanne ship. I'm like, yes, give me some girl love in this. I'm here for it. Give me Dami and Jeanne together. I really think they can make a great pair. But I also think that Jeanne loves Master Luca. She loves Luca, and Luca loves her. And so her biggest fear is that she doesn't want to hurt Luca. So it makes sense why she goes along with Vanitas, because she's like, well, this way Vanitas will keep me kind of from getting to that point. But the thing of it is, it's very weird, right? Because Vanitas has been the type of character so far in this series that has been able to instantly detect if somebody's a curse bearer. He's like, oh, yep, the book says you're a curse bearer, gonna figure it all out. And we've talked about this in the reactions, that maybe it's one of those scenarios where you have to be so far gone before you can really detect the curse itself, the malady. But in her case, it's kind of weird. Like, he asks if she's seen Charlatan, because Charlatan would be one to take her name and put the curse on her. But she's not. She's seen Rayvern. So what's up with that? Why is Rayvern... It almost seems like Rayvern has, like, tapped into something within her, and is like making her act like maybe vampires were once bloodthirsty like this and they kind of evolved over time. Maybe it has something to do with the Blue Moon vampire. We don't know. But it almost seems like Rayvern has, like, by messing with her, he's tapped into something that is causing her to react whenever she sees blood. Because that's really the only thing she's reacting to is blood. She's not really has any other urges besides that, right? It's not like whenever, that's kind of the thing, she's been like reacting to all this blood. And back when they had the ball, it wasn't like the actual curse itself that was making all the noise was affecting her. It was the fact that the blood from everybody getting attacked was affecting her. So I don't know. My fear though is that Rayvern has now attacked Noe. I'm like, is Noe going to like get infected by Rayvern and be like controlled by him? I don't want that to happen. Is Noe going to attack Vanitas because Rayvern's controlling him? Kind of like Jeanne? I don't know, but I'm just, I'm very nervous, and this episode didn't give us any answers. So I'm like, come on, show, what are we doing? So there's that, and this is the penultimate episode before the halfway point. So I may have to watch ahead, y'all. I may have to just watch ahead. I may not be able to control it. But okay, we talk about this episode because there is a lot going on. But yes, I do love Jeanne's outfit. It's super, super cute. She asks him to go on a date. She has the bustle. It's really, really sweet. Look at Pez's OP, which is so cute. But yeah, and so I like that we see Amelia. She seems to be doing well now that the curse is lifted, and she's working as a maid there in the hotel that they're staying at. Bonjour, Monsieur Vanitas. And the thing of it is, I love that they're both staying in 2 rooms. They're staying in the same room, the 2 of them. They're both staying in the same room together, just separate beds, whatever. I also like that it says something about, here's the thing, we've seen that pen and ink has been where Noe has sat and written the little letter that's in the epilogue where he talks about, Vanitas being dead, supposedly. And we've seen that going on. So it's like, okay, what's happening here? Like, is it gonna like pan out and Noe's been writing the letter and Vanitas is like on the bed behind him? Like, is that what we're gonna end up with? Because the bed's like right behind the desk. I don't know. But I do like that we see that Vanitas is a very neatly made bed, and Noe is just like all over the place, which when I was younger, I was like Noe. When I was a kid, I was like slapping people in the face. If I went to my grandparents and slept with them, I'd like kick them out of bed and stuff. It was really bad, but I was like all over the place as a kid. And now as an adult, that's not the case. But yeah, I like that Noe is just all over the place. And Vanitas is like, he fell off again? Vanitas is like, really? Vanitas seems like the type of person that just sleeps on his back, doesn't move a muscle. And Noe is like all over the place, right? And he is like a sound sleeper. Like Noe is like, he sleeps through nearly anything. Except he asks where Vanitas is going. He's like, where are you off to? With his sleepy head, and Vanitas is like, it's a secret. I like that Vanitas, he likes to gloat a little bit and hold it over Noe, being like, don't you worry about it, it's a surprise, but I know what's really going on. And that's when he sees Jeanne. Now, Jeanne has a very good plan. I thought Jeanne's plan was perfect. Jeanne's plan was, she is known, and Dami knows, that Vanitas does not want to love anybody that loves them back. He wants to love them and leave them and not feel bad when he breaks their hearts. Right? And so her plan is genius. Like, Dami and her came up with a great plan. We'll get Vanitas to think that she likes him, and then he'll be like, oh God, no, I don't want you, Klinger, get away from me. The problem is that he sees right through her plan. That's the problem. He sees right through it and is like, oh, this is what she's trying to do. Oh, I see. I'm going to beat her at her own game, right? So it's like she had a great plan, and I was like, oh, no, Dami, Jeanne, you guys are doing the right things. If you're trying to get Vanitas to get away from you, it's just, it happened so quickly, and y'all weren't subtle, that now he saw right through it and was like, well, I'm just going to play with you, and I'm going to make you fall in love with me, and make you the conflicted one, and then ha, and laugh in your face about it, which is exactly what he does. He takes her out and swoons her, and then she starts to question herself, and then at the end, she's questioning what she's doing, and he's like, I told you so! It's like 1 Week by Bare Naked Ladies is just playing in the background, and she's just like Chickadee China, the Chinese chicken. He figured it out. Because at first, she's like, oh, I've fallen for you. Please allow me to determine whether this feeling can truly be called love. And at first, Vanitas is like, what? Like, he's just like, no, this is the exact opposite of what I want. I don't want anybody to love me. I want to troll them. Vanitas does not want to be put in a place of vulnerability where, again, he's not in control. And from what we've learned from Moreau and his time as an experiment, and then getting picked up by the Blue Moon Vampire, it seems like control is something that Vanitas has never really had a grasp on in his existence. And so Vanitas is like, any chance he can grasp at straws of being able to be in charge of his own fate, he seems to take it. And so the idea that someone else loves him, he can't really control that, and so it drives him crazy. He's like, nope, don't want any part of that. But if he's in control and can leave somebody, then it's different. So I'm like, Vanitas. Ah! But yes, that's where we're at. I love that face where he's like, excuse me? And she's like, this is working perfectly. And I just love, the thing that gets me is that Jeanne says, surely you know what to do in such a situation, Dami. Surely you know. Won't you please advise me? And the thing is, she's like, I have no clue about I like Dami has this point of reference where she's like, I don't know what it's like to be in love, which again reinforces the idea that she isn't like in a sexual love, romantic love with Noe. It's more like brothers, but she does harbor these really intense feelings for him. Again, I don't ship Dami and Noe. I think they're more like siblings. I think it was more like Noe and Louis, but I feel like she's like, well, I'll help you, Jeanne, but I don't really know exactly what I'm doing either. I love her disguise, too. It's great. I love her disguise that she wears. And Dante is just like, what the hell are you doing? I like that Dante and her follow them around. And I love her little outfit. Her like hair's up in a cap, like a newsboy cap. She looks a lot like Louis when she's in that disguise. So I think it's important to note that. But yeah, Vanitas sees right through it. And he's like, I'm very intrigued by your sudden change of heart. And I love that she's just like, and she thinks that she's going to have, like, she has, like Vanitas in the palm of her hand. And by the end of the episode, Vanitas is just, like, juggling her around like a ball. And they're like, well, this backfired horribly. We did not accomplish what we set out to do. But she's like, oh, sure, we'll go along. And Vanitas takes reveling in the fact that he can control the situation. He can be the one to woo her. All of this rings true to what Vanitas would want to do. And I feel bad. I feel bad for Jeanne. Because Jeanne does not like Vanitas like that. Like, she seems easily wooed. Anybody that would do that to you anybody that would treat you like Vanitas treats her, of course you'd be wooed by her. But in the end, it was all a game. Like, Vanitas was just doing it to tease her, to like get back at her and call her out on her own game that she was trying to play against him. So it's not really a shippy episode. I'm sure some people will be like, oh yes, it's Vanitas and Jeanne as a ship. And I'm like, well, it was all a con the entire time. So can we really call it a ship? But I feel bad for both of them because it's like, on the one hand, I feel bad for Vanitas because at first, she says that she loved him and he was like, oh God, no, this isn't what I want. But the moment he realizes that she's just trying to trick him into leaving her alone, it's kind of sad because it's kind of like Vanitas realizing, oh wait, no, she doesn't actually love me. She's just doing this to get me away from her, which is kind of sad, right? And then the worst part is, on Jeanne's end, it's the same deal. She starts to kind of like be like, wow, he's really wooing me. Maybe I was wrong this whole time. Maybe I do have feelings for him. And then she finds out it was all just him tricking her. So it's like neither of them win in this situation. Neither of them fall in love. They both trick each other. And it's really, really sad. I do like that Dante comes up to Dami and is like, what the hell's going on? And she's like, I'm just following to make sure this works. I love her outfit. It's just great. And I love that with the Doms, with the ones that are like the half vampire, half humans, they have like a little bat perched on their being at some place or form. That's really just something weird and random. In a world of humans that are quite fearful of vampires, you think that that'd be a dead giveaway that somebody's a vampire when they have a bat hanging from them, but I guess they might just think, it's Paris. It's Paris, the fashion's avant-garde. Maybe they just think it's just a fashion statement, right? I do visually in this episode, one, I love Jeanne's dress, the big blue bustle, all the blue in it. I love that Dami helped her pick it out because it's blue for Vanitas. The funny thing is I don't think Vanitas likes the color blue. I think he's just forced with it. But then I love the flowers, like all the rainbow flowers that they see throughout this episode. It's super, super cute. And of course, Vanitas would be the most charming. Of course he would be. Look at him. Look at him, just trying to charm the pants off of her because he knows it's all a game. And Dami's like, I hate my life. What did I do? I love that Dami's like, I hate this. Why did this happen? Then we go back to Noe, who is just like, Noe is a cuddler. He's a cuddler. He's a big spoon. And he's just cuddling that pillow. We all wish it was Vanitas, but it's not. And then Rayvern shows up, who is the last person we went to see him with. I'm just like beside myself being like, what did you do to our precious cinnamon bun Noe? If you hurt Noe, we're going to have problems. I'm going to have problems. So they go to Salon de Fée. Which is an amazing restaurant. I like that this is somewhat based on reality, I'm assuming. The animation of the restaurant and the food is just absolutely wonderful. I love it. And so here's the thing. We get some things about the teacher who I forgot that I didn't put two and two together. The teacher is the shapeless one. That is the most ominous sounding nickname I've ever heard. They're just like, oh, your teacher, you know, the one that you called master and he said to call you teacher and his name is the shapeless one. I was like, that sounds terrifying. And it sounds like charlatan, like one of the creatures that they don't really have a shape. They're just a mist. I'm like, what? We know that the teacher has a shape, we think, but what is happening? And he had a face. He wasn't all black. So what's going on? But he asks him, he's like, I would try to get these questions out of Vanitas, but he's not going to answer me. And he's like, what do you know about Vanitas? I like that everybody's trying to ask Noe who Vanitas is, and Noe's like, look, I don't know him. I'm just walking around with him, helping him solve mysteries. We haven't really had a kumbaya session yet. But it's so fascinating because Rayvern wants to know what type of person Vanitas is, and the teacher wants to know about the book. So everybody wants to know about something surrounding Vanitas because it has connections to the Blue Moon Vampire, but we can't find the Blue Moon Vampire, so Vanitas is our next best thing. It's very interesting, right? He says, you must know what sort of person he is. You're a child of the shapeless one. Very, very creepy. And so the funny thing is that Noe seems to get a distinct impression that the shapeless one and Rayvern are similar but different. And there's lots of ways in which they can be similar but different. I would say both of them are shady as F, right? But the question is, because if we go back to like, you know, the shapeless one, the teacher killing Louis, is it one of those things where the shapeless one kind of seems like Vanitas. So we have kind of this Venn diagram, right? We have Vanitas over here, we have Rayvern over here, and we have the shapeless one in the middle. And there's aspects of the shapeless one that meets both Vanitas and Rayvern. Like, I feel like the shapeless one is a bit sketchy, a bit creepy, like Rayvern is. But what's interesting is going back to Louis dying, his grandson of all people, and Jeanne at the end of this episode, Jeanne saying, I want, if I ever try to attack Master Luca, Vanitas is like, I know, I'll kill you if that ever happens. That's what I feel like. And I feel like Louis attacking Noe was the breaking point for Louis, where Louis's like, if I ever attack you, I want you to kill me, because that's the last thing I want to do is hurt you because you're my friend. Same with Jeanne, the last thing she wants to do is hurt Luca because that's someone she really cares about. So I feel like in that regard, the teacher and Vanitas are similar, because Vanitas is like, yeah, if you hurt that person you care the most about, I'll kill you for you, so you don't have to worry. Whereas I feel like the teacher's like, yeah, if you ever hurt Noe, I'll kill you, because you would hate that too, right? So there's a similarity there, right? But the teacher is super mysterious, and we don't know much about them. Noe doesn't know. Noe's like, oh, is my teacher that incredible of a vampire? And Rayvern's like, he's called the shapeless one. Like they just, that's not a nickname you just throw around, Noe. That seems like a final boss level nickname. So it's like, what are you doing? I love that Rayvern's just like, are you freaking kidding me? You don't even know. And Noe just looks clueless. That little chibi of him is just clueless. And he's like, oh my, to think there was a vampire who could treat one such as he so casually. But, you know, the teacher has always been very shown favoritism towards Noe, because obviously of his power, I'm sure. And I'm sure Rayvern knows what that power is as well. But he's always been very lenient towards Noe, because I think the teacher likes that innocence that he has. So it's so fascinating, right? Truth be told, I really don't know either. Nobody knows about him, which is the creepiest thing. Nobody knows! And so then we go to the date between Vanitas and Jeanne. I like Jeanne has the pink gloves that kind of counter Vanitas's black gloves. And she's like, I know I loathe that man, but he's making me feel all aflutter. And I love that Dami's like, oh, damn it, she's one of those easily wooed girls. I have a crush on every boy. Dami's like, she's one of those. No! And Dami, of course, feels bad because she instigated the whole thing. And she just doesn't want Jeanne's heart to get broken. And Vanitas is definitely the type to break hearts. For sure. Like, for sure. And I love she's like, let go of my hand. And Vanitas is like, but you don't watch your step. He's like, you're so clumsy. You'll fall and hurt yourself. Ridiculous, right? And so I do like in this episode that she says she would like to go see Paris. And Vanitas is like, well, you're here all the time. And she goes, yeah, but when I'm here, I'm watching Master Luca. So my attention is on him the whole time. I don't really get to go see the city and enjoy it for myself. And one thing I do like is that Vanitas, he does take her on a trip throughout Paris. He does take her on a legit date. I do appreciate that. Like, he could have just, meandered about and kind of wasted time, but he was really nice and saying, no, we'll go on an actual date. That's fine. I liked that. I thought that was really good. I was like, okay, cool. I thought that was very, very nice of him to do. That they could actually go on a constant watch. And I can tell that Vanitas knows that she likes Luca. Like, Vanitas has figured it out, right? He's like, so today we'll go to our heart's content and see the city. And she gets to see everything. I love the part where he's like, oh, those are just some cats. Those aren't actual landmarks. And then they see the sky whale where Vanitas first met Amelia back in episode 1 is back up in the air again, showing like a passage of time, right? And the date's so cute. Like, all of them eating like he holds her parasol while she eats the baguette. I'm like, hell yeah, girl. And she's eating like all the food, and Vanitas really isn't eating anything because doesn't seem like the type. Jeanne is a girl after my own heart. Like, I'm a foodie, so if I go on a trip to any city, like some people go to the beach and hang out. Some people go to see landmarks. I mainly want to like talk and eat all the food. I want to see the local cuisine. I'm here for the food and the architecture. That's what I'm here for. And then, of course, he's like, would you like a crepe? And she's like, oh, damn it, I would like a crepe. He's won me over with food, damn it. It's so cute, right? And then, of course, Dante's like, this is stupid. This is just a date. I'm going to leave. And so they talk about the Sun Tower, the prime exhibit at the next Exposition Universale. A tasteless structure. I was convinced they would adopt Gustav Eiffel's proposal. So we're establishing that, yeah, this is a parallel universe, right? Even down to, you have Altus and the mortal world. But the mortal world is a parallel world to ours because here, instead of doing the Eiffel Tower, they did the Sun Tower, which is much worse in comparison, right? And he says, but it's just like the Tower of Babel, meaning that people, they don't understand. Interesting. And so he goes to the lavatory, and meanwhile, Noé says, I feel like I'm almost with my teacher, right? And he says, what could it be? Is it the way that you speak? Is it the shadiness you have? I feel as if I'm attending class. And maybe it's just I have so much fun talking to you. And Loé is so sweet. He's a damn cinnamon bun. He's like, I'm having so much fun talking to Ruthven. And Ruthven's like, I'm going to fuck you over. And I'm like, no! So I'm like, damn it, Noé. Noé is like, he's so gung-ho, has such a sense of justice, but he is the most naive, gullible little cinnamon bun. And I want to put him in my pocket and protect him, especially from this guy. And Ruthven's like, yeah, I used to. Here's the thing. Ruthven goes on this big spiel about how he was a teacher, right? He was, I did work as a teacher of sorts, meaning I was indoctrinating the youth, back when humans and vampires still hated and slaughtered each other, right? So he says, many students adored me and gathered to my side. And he says, I imparted with them knowledge that would make them think. Yeah, my thing is, I don't think he was telling the kids that vampires and humans should get along, because he doesn't seem to quite believe that, right? I just don't get that impression. They say he was instrumental in the war against, the war to stop humans versus vampires, but I don't know. The whole thing of a teacher of sorts and imparting with them knowledge, I just get the vibe, based on how sketchy he is, that he was trying to teach the youth the youth of vampires about killing humans, and then it went south. Because the way he phrases it, he says, I wanted them to join me in creating a brighter future. Now, maybe that brighter future meant humans and vampires coinciding and getting along. Maybe. Or maybe that brighter future was killing off all the humans and letting only vampires exist. We don't know, right? And then Noe's like, are you still in touch with them? And he said, they're all dead. Noe's like, oh, they were all killed. And he touches his eye like him losing the eye was part of the battle. That's my thing. I think my theory is that he was teaching these students about killing humans, and then they got into a battle against the humans, and whether the Brasseurs or something, whatever happened, the Chasseurs got involved, whatever, the executioners and the hunters, they ended up slaughtering the vampires, and he lost his eye. And they lost to the humans. That's what I think happened, but I could be proven wrong. We don't know a lot about Rayvern, so I could be proven wrong, right? And he's like, if I had students like you, my days would be full of joy. And I was like, ugh. And Noe's kind of flattered by that, but I'm like, are you meaning Noe? It sounds like Rayvern's saying, if I had a bunch of students that were as gullible and easily manipulated as you, I'd be having a great time and had the ability to read memories through drinking their blood. I was like, oh my gosh. I worry about Noe the whole time. Because then he says, what if one who would take advantage of your kindness were to appear? And he's obviously implying Vanitas. He's like, what if Vanitas came and took advantage of the kindness you gave him? And Noe does see through it. He's like, oh, well, you're referring to Vanitas. I mean, I'm glad that everybody's like, that's their first thing they go to. And he says, yeah. He's like, he would never do that, though. He said, he'll try to use almost anyone, and yet he can't stand anyone getting hurt because of him. Noe's like, yeah, Vanitas is a gremlin. He's a troll. He is about manipulating people, but at the end of the day, he doesn't want anybody to get hurt, right? He's a walking contradiction. And the thing about it is, the whole thing about using people and everything is a big old front for his own insecurities, but Noe can't see that, right? He doesn't understand that. Vanitas believes human and vampires are the same. He told me they're both monstrous and selfish creatures, which from what we've seen so far is not entirely wrong. I was annoyed when he said that, but I also sensed his loneliness. Yeah, there is a loneliness in Vanitas that Noe has sensed, that Vanitas doesn't believe he can trust anyone. He believes everyone is selfish and they're out for their own agenda, and Vanitas can't trust anyone, which, again, Vanitas hasn't been proven wrong. So, you know, he has good reason to be skeptical. And that's when Rayvern is like, well, what do you think? What are vampires and what are humans to you? And again, he's asking Noe to choose sides. Like, are you on the vampire side or the human side? Reinforcing this idea that Rayvern was definitely on the vampire side, right? And that's when we go back to Jeanne. And she's like, all I have to do is just convince him that I love him and then he'll leave me. And it absolutely doesn't work. I love that by the end of this episode, I love that the game is over and they both kind of feel each other out. You know what I mean? And basically realize that it was a game. They both realized they were lying to each other, and that was the joke. And it doesn't feel like a wasted episode, though, because we get more on Jeanne and Vanitas' personalities, and we get more about them as the episode goes on. So it doesn't feel like a waste. But I'm wondering if whatever Rayvern has done to Jeanne makes her act up when she sees blood is just, maybe not even to curse her, maybe not even to turn her into a monster, but is just to elicit fear amongst the humans. Because right now the humans think that everything's all hunky-dory, we can get along with each other, according to what Orlok and the others have done. But if vampires start attacking people, then it's going to reignite that war. And that's what I think that Rayvern wants to do. What I'm afraid of is that now Noe is going to, is he going to get infected by Rayvern and start attacking people the same way? What do we do with that? I'm like, I wanted to have answers with Noe, and this episode didn't give it to me, and I'm like, come on. And then, yeah, Dami and Dante realize that Jeanne is totally at his mercy, and she starts to react to the blood, and of course that's when Vanitas gets serious, and the guy on the bench is like, oh no, a vampire, and Vanitas stops her, and that's when Dante uses the smoke screen to let them escape. And so Rayvern says, you were taken in by humans when you were young. He's like, do you consider them, and who do you consider your enemy, humans or vampires? Like, which side are you on? And Noé's like, well, neither. He's like, my enemies are anyone or anything that would harm those I hold dear or whatever I wish to protect. He's like, it doesn't matter if it's a human or a vampire. He's like, that doesn't make them my enemy. And that's when Ruthven's like, I understand. Which I'm like, Noé gave the best answer you could possibly get, but it wasn't what he wanted to hear. And he says, you failed the test. And we don't know if he spiked the food or the drink that Noé had, or if he used his powers to make Noé fall forward. We don't know, or if he's using his pressure. And that's when he like goes and attacks him. And I'm like, what are you doing to him? Why? Leave him alone. Why are you attacking him? I don't like this. I hope he hasn't cursed Noé. I don't like where this is headed. Nope. Don't like where this is headed at all. No, not at all. Not whatsoever. So we go to this spot where we see these paintings. I'm not exactly sure where we are at. But we're at this hall where all these paintings are at. And then he's like, are you all right, Jeanne? And she's just, I love that he gave her his coat. That was really sweet that he gave her his coat. And she's like sitting there licking the blood off his wound. And his eyes, he's just staring at her like, what is up with you? Because she's like so enamored with the blood. He's like, are you a curse bearer or not? But that's the thing. If she were a curse bearer, I feel like Vanitas would understand what was going on better and would be able to help her. But the fact that he can't sense anything is like, it's a sign that something with Rayvern and it's something nefarious, and I don't like it. But and she's got some kind of like mind lock where she can't talk about it, right? She can't talk about what he's like, do you have any other symptoms other than the urge to drink blood? And she's like, it's like she wants to talk about it, but she can't, right? And then she sees like in front of her eyes is Rayvern. And he like puts the hand over her and she can't speak. Yeah, it's like he's got some kind of mind control on her. I don't like it. And Vanitas is like, okay, you can't talk about it. And it wouldn't be a vampire episode without a sexy blood exchange where she's like, I kept my promise. I came to you. I have not sucked in the blood of anyone but you. And I feel like, is this her house? Is this her place? With the different artwork and stuff? Maybe. I feel like it might be her place. And of course, Vanitas is like, well, if she's got to suck my blood, I guess I might as well enjoy it. So why not, right? Why not? In that case, I'll reward you. I'm like, oh my God. And then, of course, you know, did we need to hear Vanitas moaning a second time? Of course we did. But Vanitas is like, yep, if this is what it takes. And him saying that he wants more. Oh my God. And he's like, Jeanne. And that's when she sees Luca in her mind and stops. And starts to cry. Saying, what shall I do? She's like, I'm slowly losing my sanity and one day I won't be myself. What if the day comes that I harm Master Luca? And at that point, Vanitas, because Vanitas was kind of like taking advantage of the moment, being like, well, if you've got to suck blood and I'm here, then yeah, I'll have a good time. But the moment she starts to cry, I do appreciate that Vanitas is like, And then Vanitas realizes that who she loves is Luca. And we don't know what happened to the little boy that was his brother from the last episode. So there could be a possibility that Vanitas hurt the little brother, much like she's afraid of hurting Luca. So that is another way in which Vanitas kind of connects with her and is like, you're afraid of doing the same thing that I was afraid of doing to Luca. Even though I don't think Vanitas sucked his blood or anything, I think he might have just inadvertently hurt him another way. And that's when he's like, okay. He's like, I don't know whether you're a curse bearer or not. Something's not adding up. But what I do know is I can't promise I can cure you. However, if you ever, he's like, I'll promise you this. He's like, I will kill you if it comes to that. If you hurt Luca, He's like, then I'll kill you. I promise that I'll kill you then. And then she just like collapses into his chest and hugs him. And that's that. The relationship between Jeanne and Vanitas is so fascinating because they're not really lovers. They don't really love each other that way. They're trying to constantly trick each other into thinking they will so that they'll get away from each other, right? But in another vein, there is this mutual kind of understanding between the two of them that if they've made this promise now, that if something happens, Vanitas is like, if you get to this point, I'll kill you and whatever. The thing that I'm worried about is that what if she does attack Luca and then Vanitas is like, I promised you, and she's like, you did promise, and Noé doesn't understand the promise. Like, what happens then, right? What do we do with that? So it's just like, it's setting up for some dangerous things and Vanitas is not the type to explain his actions. He's just like, I made a promise and that's it. And Noé is so gullible and naive that if he thinks that Vanitas hurt Jeanne without knowing the full situation, what do we do with that? So, y'all, oh my God. I need to know what happened with Noé. But I really love the dynamic between Jeanne and Vanitas. I don't ship them. Not really. I like them as platonic friends. But I do like their dynamic an awful lot. And so I don't think I'm going to be able to wait. Nope. So there's that. But yeah, we'll see. We'll just see what happens, won't we? So I don't know what's going to happen, y'all, but I am looking forward to it. So next episode's the halfway point of the anime. I can't imagine what's going to happen. So please, no spoilers, hints, or clues, but I'm curious to know what you thought down below. If you're a Jeanne and Vanitas shipper, I do see it. I get it. I really do. I don't ship them, but I'm not going to diss anybody's ships. Everybody has the right to ship the way that they want to ship, right? So I'm curious to know your thoughts down below, but I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with more of the case study of Vanitas.